In December last year, we were contacted by the family of a 14-year-old girl who reported that the girl had been meeting with a man in his late 20s and driving around with him. Our investigators spoke with the girl, and at the time she did not disclose any criminal offenses occurring. An investigation was launched into the man allegedly meeting with the girl, and investigators learned that he had been in contact with other girls around the same age. The man is believed to have been meeting girls online using the names Josh and Brandon. Last month, a 13-year-old girl disclosed to us that the man had asked her for sexual favors. Following that, 2 additional victims were identified. Christian Allen Surreal, age 27 of Calgary, has now been charged in connection with this investigation. He is charged with 3 counts each of sexual interference, invitation to sexual touching, sexual assault, and obtaining sexual services for consideration from a person under the age of 18. His next court appearance is on June 6, 2017. The investigation is ongoing, and anyone with information on these incidents is asked to contact police by calling the non-emergency line at 403-266-1234 or to contact Crime Stoppers anonymously.
So just for clarity, so back to this December 2016 one, did any charges end up stemming from that, or was this just...
No, they have not stemmed from that initial investigation.
Is there a likelihood that there are more victims out there?
I can't speak to whether there would be additional victims. The investigation is ongoing. We've got some investigative steps we need to complete, and there always is that possibility.
When you say online, was this like a social media site?
Yes. There was several different social media apps that he was using to engage these girls in conversation.
Do you know of any cases prior to 2016, or did this just start from 2016? Do we know if this guy did this before then?
We don't have anything prior to 2016 at this point.
Can you say which sites? If it was Twitter, Facebook?
There were several different social media sites, but I won't speak to it just because the investigation is ongoing.
Can you talk a little bit more about the 14-year-old who didn't disclose any criminal offenses occurring? Can you just elaborate a little bit on if that was a roadblock for investigators, how they were able to build off of that, and how difficult can that be when a victim isn't either worried about speaking out or worried about retribution? Or something? Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that part of the investigation?
That's a difficult question. We always encourage any victim to reach out and report to police, and I understand, and we understand, that there's always reservations about doing that and reaching out and being, speaking out and making those disclosures. I wouldn't consider it a roadblock. I mean, as investigators, that's not your only avenue of investigation.
Was he posing as, like, I know he was posing as this Josh or Brandon, but was he disclosing his actual age? Was he saying he was younger?
It varied, but was portraying to be younger than what he is, yes.
I mean, this isn't something new. These types of cases happen all the time, and we do put out the word of caution about, signs to look out for, things like that. Can you say anything else to that? Could parents have done anything more to help protect their kids, or what other words of advice can you give, teens when they are on social media? I know you've said it before, but maybe just one more time.
Yeah, I would never judge a parent by their actions, but I think any parent needs to be mindful of what social media sites their children are accessing. They should know the passwords to their devices so they can check on them and have really good conversations about internet safety with their kids. I mean, we can't tell kids to stay off the internet as much as we would like to. It's just the way they communicate today, but they need to be mindful of the risks of engaging in conversations with strangers online.
Can you say how the family, that initial family, found out about this? If it was just by chance, or?
I can't speak to the investigation due to the fact that it's ongoing, sorry.
Like, was there some parent intervention in the ones where the charges have been laid? Like, were parents saying, my daughter, I think she's chatting with someone who is misrepresenting himself, or did the young girl say, there's something amiss here, this doesn't feel right, and came to you, or how did that?
There's a bit of both, to be vague.
I mean, maybe could you speak to, for that kind of an impressionable age, and something is happening to you that is criminal, I mean, that takes a lot of courage.
It does. anytime that you're admitting that, you know, something negative has impacted you, it's difficult to make that initial first tell, right? That initial disclosure is a difficult step for anybody to take, adult or youth. So, you know, I'm hopeful that, you know, as people learn about, you know, the fact that the police is here to help and intervene, that there will be, you know, the confidence that, you know, we will do our best to support them as we conduct an investigation.
And what kind of support is available for the victims right now, and how are they doing?
Well, the beautiful thing is that the Child Abuse Unit is located at the Sheldon Kennedy Child Advocacy Center, and we have an amazing team there of people who can support these kids, teens, through their journey. So, you know, it's not just a police investigation, it's just a collaborative approach to make sure that they're supported throughout.
That's right. I'm sorry, Melanie, if you addressed this before. The 13-year-old girl, was that just like someone had just messaged her and she immediately reported it, or it wasn't like the 14-year-old who had been meeting with the individual, correct?
Sorry, are you speaking about...
What happened in April with the 13-year-old, not the 14-year-old? Was this just the 13-year-old told police that a man had asked her for sexual favors? So was that just, she was just online doing her thing, and then this person addressed her and then she immediately reported it? Or was it like the 14-year-old who had been meeting with an individual?
Well, the same, we charged all charges, the same charges against the accused for 3 victims. So, without
Right.
going into the details of what occurred, yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, you touched on it a bit, just speaking maybe more generically. I mean, we're
Sure.
hearing that sex offenses are up by 20%. I mean, a lot of it is being credited to people reporting it. People are now coming forward and feeling more confident.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would you reflect that? Would you say that you're seeing more people, I guess maybe more sophisticated to know that, you know, they can come to you, or that they feel safe in reporting?
I believe that there is a confidence, and the stigma is reduced in terms of reporting and making these disclosures. You know, 10 years ago, nobody talked about these offenses, right? They were, they just weren't spoken about. And I think that the stigma is being reduced and people are more confident that we're going to listen.
I think on that, and this is just about the technology, I mean,
Certainly.
It has changed over the years. Is it, more people are talking about it now, but is it harder that these guys are online and they can be whoever they want to be? Or maybe with digital footprints, is it easier to track these guys down?
Well, I think any time that you take away your identity and you can engage in anonymous conversations, I think the risk factor goes up. So, you know, was this happening before? Certainly. Technology has certainly made it perhaps easier, but I would suggest that I think there's a combination of a number of things, but I think technology has certainly made it easier, unfortunately.